Hey guys, today we're installing a few things into our Corsair 6500D chassis. This chassis is a dual chamber chassis. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and install the Gamdias cooler, and I do not have a lot of fans or any fans at this stage, but we also don't have a graphics card. So we're going to install the motherboard, we're going to install the RAM, we're going to install the RMX Shift Series Corsair power supply, which has the connectors on the side, the NVMe motherboard. This MSI Z890 motherboard is going to work nice for this job, and the Intel Core Ultra 7. So let's get all of that into this box and just get it ready. I think first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this glass cover. The 6500D does not have a quick remove glass panel. You have to loosen up the screws at the back and then the panel can be detached. I thought that top screw can be loosened and then the thing can shift out, but it doesn't want to loosen up. I have to remove the 3 screws at the back. Once you've loosened up these 3 screws, the hinge can swivel out, and then obviously the glass panel can be removed like that. I think this whole thing is steel and not aluminum. I said in a previous video it's aluminum, but you get aluminum covers for this and wooden. Let's quickly take off the back panel also. Just loosen those screws, just as easy as that. Pops off, and let's put it to the side. So this reveals the whole back side of the PC. What I'm firstly going to install is the power supply. So the power supply is just 850 watts, but it's got that side or the shift connectors on the side. I will be installing it in this orientation. Let me just remove this notice. That little notice just said that the fan might stop if it is in cooling or in slow mode. Slow mode. I wonder if you can turn around this logo, because it's going to be upside down if I install it like this. Look at this sweet little Ziploc bag with your cable ties and little screws. All the screws are installed and the power supply is nicely in its place. Alright, so this motherboard is super glossy. This is silver, and yeah, I will quickly install that NVMe on this motherboard, and then just fit the motherboard to the inside of the chassis. I think I will route these cables before I do that, because sometimes they're a bit difficult to get through the little hole that I want them to if the motherboard's already attached. I've turned down the camera a bit just to get rid of that gloss at the moment. So this board has got its I/O plate or back plate already installed on the motherboard, so no need to press it into the chassis before you install the motherboard. So this one has got a little plastic that needs to be removed before you put it onto the drive. On this motherboard you also have that little quick connect, so you just push it into the NVMe slot, then you can just press it down and swivel around this little clip at the back, and it holds your NVMe in place. And this little screw is the one that comes into the back of that. It's got a bit of a shoulder there or something. It just keeps it nice and neatly down. So let's remove that little sticker and place this onto the NVMe. Just make sure that your drive is positioned perfectly. If you screw down this screw and you see that the drive is like it's pushing it incorrectly at the bottom, just don't continue. Just loosen up everything, put it in the drive again, and make sure that that clip is nicely clipped. Next thing I'm quickly going to do is I'm just going to quickly add the processor. This processor is the 265K. So just make sure that the tabs are in the correct position when you insert that. Close it up and push it down. I'm going to support the board a bit at the back while pressing down on this. And the processor is now nicely seated into its special position. So next we will install the cooler, the CPU cooler, Gamdias. We'll quickly install the bracket and everything for that. This needs to be stuck onto the back of the motherboard. There's little glue tabs which you can, double-sided tabs that I can just remove. And this has already been set to LGA 1700 or 1700. That'll fit on the 1800s. Align those holes and drop it in. Just gonna make sure that it's stuck onto that pad, and it did. So now it won't fall off when I turn the board upside or turn the board around. I will quickly install the studs for the LGA 1700. This is a 1800 board, but you need to install these for that. I do like the way these coolers attach to the motherboard. It's very sturdy. Okay, it indicates that these little shoulders should be screwed into the motherboard itself, or into the bracket. And my 3D printer's nozzle removal tool works perfectly with these. With those studs nicely bolted in, I am ready to install the motherboard into the chassis, and also maybe quickly place the RAM into the motherboard. This motherboard clearly states that the RAM should be we should use DIMM 2 and 2 first. So these two DIMMs or slots should be used first. It says there, first. So let's get the RAM. I'm going to use this Clef RAM, the RGB ones. And let's just quickly install them. This RAM is XMP3 ready for the Intel. Oh, these are pretty nice DDR5 DIMMs. They are matte black, and I do not have gloves, so this is definitely gonna leave some fingerprints. Again, I'm gonna just support the motherboard nicely and push the RAM in there. That one is nicely fitted. Also nicely clicked in there. I like these motherboards with the clips on both sides. Now we're quickly gonna just make sure that all these holes are where the studs are on the chassis itself, and if it's not in the correct positions, we'll just adjust. It looks like they're all in the correct position. I think on this install I'll use these boards on the side. It's not gonna look that bad. Otherwise you'll always have to loosen the motherboard if you have to replace the power supply. So let's just use the holes that the chassis supplies us, and we're going to just put everything through there. Just see how it looks. Yeah, I think that'll work. I'm not clipping in any cables at the moment. The motherboard's not fastened yet. Just making sure that the cables will route nicely. Yeah, I think it's a bit better if the cables will just they're just gonna route like that. And also this motherboard has got a PCIe, this is PCIe 5, eh? This is just a new kind of PCIe connector. It still uses these PCIe connectors, and it's got one at the bottom also that needs a plug. This one is a double on that power supply, and this one is a single, so I'm going to use a single for the bottom, and maybe later for the graphics card we'll use a double. Even this cable has got a nice place or spot to go in. You can just push it through the bottom. Yeah, so that cable will just go into the bottom like that. No need to lift the motherboard for any cables. This chassis just supports all the cables and it routes it very easily. let's get this little toolbox, or I mean screw box. These little screws are quick fan connections, fan screws. I mean, it'll quickly screw into your fans, which you can install in front and the top and the back and on the side. And then the motherboard screws are in here, so that's what I'm looking for. I see it does have little washers for the motherboard, so we'll also be using those. Let me quickly screw that in, and yeah, then the motherboard's also installed now. Alright, so what we've done, I've screwed down the motherboard. I've used those little washers on the motherboard. Hopefully it's for that. But in any case, there was one screw that couldn't get a little washer. So that's just how it is. The next thing that I have to do is quickly install the radiator. I am not going to install it in front or on the side. I will be installing it at the top at the moment. As you can see, a 360mm radiator fits easily in here, and I'm just going to attach it now. Alright, our radiator has been screwed to the top, and now I will do the necessary connections and also install the pump on the processor. These Gamdias brackets can be a bit stubborn, so when you push it in, it'll go up to that point, but you need to push it all the way in. There we go, so that it sits flush, or each corner on each corner of the pump. Yeah, I think the pump will be in that, it'll sit like that. So let me quickly remove all the plastics and apply the heatsink paste. Gamdias heatsink paste. Then we just use these to fasten it. The pump is now installed, and I'll do the wiring for that just now. This pump has so many cables, it's quite a challenge to just make it look neat, but with this chassis I can just enter at the top, come out at the bottom and plug into the USB ports for the USB, and on the power switch, yeah, the power switch I can just there's actually, I think this is for the color changing effects, RGBs, and the setup power. So all of these can easily go just through the hole right there, and hopefully you won't be able to see them that clearly. Alright, let me just quickly show you, bring you into the chassis. Everything has been connected and installed. The graphics card, as I said, is still it's still coming. These two ports are not connected. The motherboard does not have a support for that. Maybe we can add a PCI card to also connect them. But that is the rear chamber, or the rear bay, because it's a dual chamber. Fans will be installed over here, and maybe I'll just, because of all the cables and stuff, I can definitely put them somewhere in a nice storage, but there's also the possibility of just storing them in there, because you're not going to see them at all, and it is a quick just a nice place to quickly access them. There's no airflow needed there. That little chamber does nothing for airflow. And yeah, so let's quickly turn the chassis around. Alright, let me quickly show you the front of the chassis. The radiator is way up there, and these cables can be adjusted and make neat. All the other cables are going in various holes, and they're just all very nicely hidden, and yeah, very clean installation. I wanted to put the pipes of the radiator at the back, but it'll interfere a bit with that fan. And then over here you can quickly have a look. That's how the back of the chassis looks at this stage, with that motherboard installed. And then yeah, the radiator on top. So all of this will be nicely covered with these mesh panels. A very easy, flexible kind of a chassis to work on. Yeah, I think it's looking actually very good. Let me change this lens a bit. There we go. So that is what the inside of the chassis looks like. Okay, I've quickly installed all the panels and I'm just going to move around the chassis. Hopefully you can just see how it looks. And let's see if I can move a bit to the back there. Not really. It's a big heavy chassis to work with this, and but at least it's got nice features like the door opening up. This will look awesome with the graphics card that's on its way. Yeah, that's the build for now. Maybe I'll make an update video if the graphics card's added and the other fans at the back or the front. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully this just helps you to decide if this will work for you or not.